So check this out. I found a little bit of a gem, which Jesse knows about. There's a post I was like, oh, I don't really like this. It's just kind of like annoys me. So I was going to just do like, don't see similar content. They have a dedicated thing now that says don't see political content. I was just kind of surprised to see that there. I don't know if you've all found that, but if you want to be on LinkedIn for work, I'm still waiting for the no cat memes button, but that was pretty cool. I'm going to be really light on the slides because let's be honest, slides are boring. But just to give everyone a visual, right? So lead an account list, strategies. I do want to talk about real quick, what's the big deal with lists? You know, like why learn how to use them? Why actually take the time to use them? So just four kind of quick, simple things. One, makes you more organized. So think about the opposite of that. What happens when you're not organized? Time suck, no consistency, right? So absolutely, lists are going to make you more organized for people, for companies. Huge deal. Another big deal is major improvement in how you can do search and targeting. I mean, just think about the one thing alone where if you want to exclude your clients from your outreach, like that one thing, huge. So we'll get there later. That's another big deal. Number three, if you use lists, especially on the lead or the person list, LinkedIn actually records your outreach history. I found a lot of people have no idea that they do that. And it doesn't matter if you do activity in normal LinkedIn or Sales Nav. It's going to tell you if you invited them to connect. It's going to tell you when you sent the last message. And that's for anybody that does sales, that information is huge for just follow through and follow up and consistency. So that's a really big deal. The other thing is makes it a whole lot easier to stay top of mind because you've categorized people, you've categorized companies, and then by doing that, you can rely on things like alerts and then just checking in because you know exactly where a contact or a company is at in your qualification process. So those are all four really big deals. There are more, but we can get into them kind of as we go. So let's do this. These are kind of the points that we're going to go through. I'm not going to stay on the slide. I'm just going to give you kind of this is where we're going. So I want to talk about first, what the heck are lists? There are, I tend to say lead list because it's most common, but there are account lists and there are lead lists. So what the heck are lists? Number two, we're going to go into how to categorize people and companies. There are a few different strategies there, like pre-sales pipeline, initiatives that you may have, industries that you want to get around just for targeting. So there's a lot of things you can do with categorization. We'll talk about how that trickles over into improving targeting. And then again, like I just mentioned, recording outreach activity and then staying top of mind using alerts. So that's what we're going to do. Are you ready? Dun-dun-dun-dun. So first, I'm glad, you know how last week I wanted to do a demo of the new Sales Nav and then they took it away like that morning from me and we couldn't do it. Well, it came back last night. And thankfully, I had a tab saved of the old version. And the reason why I'm really glad is because we'll get here in a minute. Check this out. Before, for those of you who saw this in LinkedIn, so before you had to choose if you wanted to search within accounts or leads. It was one or the other, no combo. This new product update, you can actually do both at the same exact time, which is very, very helpful.
Huge.
So yeah, that's huge. We'll get there when we talk about the implications for how using lists gets into things like search and targeting, that kind of thing. But first, what the heck are lists? So let's do this. You go to Sales Nav, you're on the homepage, see up here, there's account list and lead list. Essentially, if I go to account list, we'll start here because account is just Sales Nav lingo for company. And so in normal LinkedIn, you have no way to like take a group of people or a group of companies and then put them all together into one group. There's no way to do that. So you have to have Sales Nav for this, and you can take a group of companies and put them all into one list, one bucket, one category. You can name it however you want. And there are, I find like probably 2 or 3 pretty common strategies for the account list, right? So number one would be if you want to exclude your clients. And so every time we're doing onboarding, like I don't know everybody's clients, like you might know your own clients, We don't. So we say, give us all of your clients. We'll sign an NDA, whatever. And then we'll go and we'll save all those companies to a client list so that when we move later into targeting, we can just boom, one click, exclude every client. Very helpful. So that's one strategy that I would absolutely recommend. Another strategy is to organize your account lists into what I call like a pre-sales pipeline, where there you might grab a bunch of companies and you might say, these look like they're qualified, might not know until I start talking to people internally. So you might take and create a list that says like, we're qualifying these companies, or they're qualified, there's an opportunity. You can kind of see the end destination, there would be clients. So this is kind of like pre-sales pipeline. You can do that for accounts. Also, I'd recommend, we'll get there later, doing that for people as well. And then the third one would be if you have like an initiative, which is usually related to like, if you're targeting maybe an industry that's not available, you can use lead list to get around that. So like, for example, let's go to account search, and PS with the new layout, keyword is up here. So once you go to account, keyword is here. It's no longer over here. It's just kind of confusing. So if I am wanting to sell to like roofing companies, right? I just like to use that one because I'll show you in a minute. If I go to industry and I type in roofing, there's nothing. Like, oh man, this is my whole world. I just need to sell to roofing companies. What should I do? It's not a good idea to start at the industry search at the person level, because there's industry on person's profile, and on a company page, you want to start with the industry on the company page. It's much more accurate. So if your industry is not here, you can actually go like this. Let's do roofing. We'll go to US. Where's Geo at now? Headquarters location, United States. And then maybe just to clean it up a little bit quickly, maybe we'll do industry construction. So these are probably mostly going to be roofing companies. You definitely want to clean it up, because I'm sure there's just some companies that say they market to roofing, that marketing to roofing. So I go like this, save all, save the list. And then let's put them in this account list called, and I just named this for demo today, industry not in search roofing. So I go like that. Now all 25 of those companies are all saved to a list for roofing. And so this is a great way to get around an industry limitation, industry not in search roofing. Now I can go like this here to lead search. And if I'm looking for people in that industry, I can just go like this, look for account list, roofing, and then let's just do, because it's fast, let's do owner. There you go. So these should all be owners in roofing. There are a couple ways that you could get this kind of list, but just as an example to empower you to learn later, you can do keyword search in account search and then save them to an account list, search for people within that list. And it's a great way to overcome industry limitations. So a lot of people don't do that. Highly recommend doing that for account lists. Let's jump back here to account list. Let's see if I forgot anything there. Pre-sales pipeline, unique initiatives, overcoming industry limitations. Let's just move on to lead list, which is people list. So for a people list, you can do a lot of similar things as far as like the way it works is going to be very similar. So an account list is a list of companies. Lead list is a list of people. So you can kind of see how there's going to be overlap, right? You've got your companies that you're targeting, you're engaging with, but you don't engage with a company on LinkedIn, you engage with a person on LinkedIn. So it's very helpful to take your lead lists into group people into categories of like a pre-sales pipeline. And this is, of course, if you're using LinkedIn for sales, and if you're paying for Sales Navigator, you probably are. So we always like to do the same thing as the account list. If someone is like a client and we know it and we just want to exclude them, we'll save that person to either like a list called client or not a lead, just to make sure we don't accidentally solicit them, right? So you want to do that. And then we take and create a lead list for all the stages that you'd see like in a pipeline. So we're qualifying these people, they're qualified, maybe there's an opportunity, maybe they're not a lead, maybe we're staying top of mind. This is the bucket we're targeting right now, converted, interested, and this is all, I just wiped out, nuked everything and restarted a couple days ago. That's why the numbers are so low. But that's typically what we do. So we pre-sales pipeline, very helpful. Not a lead, very helpful. And then if you have a group of people, just like with accounts where there's something unique that unites them, like just their category, you can do that as well. I've seen a lot of people where they are here and they're searching for different people within, like, let's say we were doing that roofing. Is that maybe one tab over? Maybe they were here and they were going, oh, you know what? 170 people. I really want to engage with them. So let's go to save the list. And then let's create a list called owners of roofing companies. Sometimes people like to just work off of the search results. Sometimes people like to take that group of people and then save them to a list and work through it that way. Either way is fine as long as the person you're engaging with goes into a list. So those are kind of the big takeaways as far as naming and using lead lists. The way it gets very helpful, if you can stay organized using lead and account list, is with search. So for example, we kind of already went over where you can look for people within an industry, very helpful. Maybe you go, you know what, we have some clients. We definitely want to exclude all of our clients. So now we're looking for owners in roofing companies. We're excluding all of our clients. Very, very, very helpful. Cool. You could also do, maybe, let's go like this and clear those out. Maybe you go, you know what? It's been, maybe you have a SaaS or some kind of like a product or service release or something that you want to communicate to the people who work at companies that you know are qualified, but they just weren't ready to buy before in the past. So let's go, maybe you could go to lead list and then let's pull up everyone who's top of mind. It's going to be small because we just started over. Let's go like this too. So you can just pull up everybody who's in that stage of the pipeline and then boom, go through and message them. Like, you know, they're qualified, you know, they already know who you are. Just pull up the lead list in search and then kind of go from there. Last thing before we can do panelist discussion would be, let's look at the outreach activity. So if I go like this and I go like this, you can see right here, it says outreach activity. So this contact I messaged 19 hours ago. This contact I messaged 5 days ago. So they're qualifying. You can see message received, message sent. So as a salesperson, I should never see message received usually, right? Because that means that they talked to me last, I should have responded. Unless they're like, yeah, you know, we're not, like maybe it's a dead end and that was the lesson it said, that's cool. And then we can put them into not a lead or whatever. But Isaac, the outreach activity, yeah, yes. Can you hang on here 1 second? Yep, so outreach activity, very helpful. And you can go like this, sort by the default is they added outreach activity. So what we do is we have our team organize people into pre-sales pipeline lists. And then if, you know, because we have to send follow-ups, sometimes people forget to reply, that kind of thing. We just rely on the outreach activity, which is auto-recorded right in here to say, oh, it's been a week since we talked to this person, whoever sent the message last, let's jump in there and send a response to kickstart the conversation. Okay. That is actually, sorry, Crystal, just because that was the last thing I wanted to say. So actually, let's really quick talk about alerts because I know I'm a little bit over time.
Can I just ask a couple clarifications on that before you move on? That's the only reason I was interrupted.
Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
So the message received, my understanding just simply means that they've opened it, not that they've replied to it.
Nope, it means they've replied.
They replied.
It means that I've received a
message. Because
I've
opened up some and I've not actually had a reply show in there.
And it says message received?
Yeah.
I could be wrong there. I know that this person this morning sent me a message. And
Okay.
so if I send a message, it's message sent. That's my Outreach activity, message sent.
Because I thought it would say replied if they actually sent, not just message received. So,
I'm willing to be wrong, but I know for sure this person, Justin, sent me a message 19 hours ago. So in this case, and maybe there's some ways that it works that I'm not familiar with, but I know that when a person sends you, when a person sends me the message and I look in here, it's going to say I received a message.
Would it potentially be tied to the LinkedIn inbox as opposed to the Sales Navigator inbox?
No, it's the same.
Okay.
The only difference maybe is if it was an in-mail. I'm not sure about that. So
yeah, makes sense.
Not sure. Great question, Crystal. Anything else on that?
well, not on this, just in case it's changed when you're adding people from the search to the list. When you click on select all, is it just the page or is it the entire search results?
It's just the page.
Yep. That's what I thought. I was just kind of maybe hoping.
Yeah.
They changed that and, be a whole lot easier to add the whole search results to a list than have to go page by page. So.
For sure. It's like Sid, invite sent. Colby, invite sent. It's very helpful. If you're just working within the normal LinkedIn, it's such a big hot mess to try and organize this kind of thing. It's big hot mess. Okay, one last point here, and then we'll move into how your other panelists are using lead and account lists. If you save an account or a lead, a company or person, if you save them, they are going to go into they're going to be qualified to be in your alerts. And if you see nothing in here and you have a bunch of things, people and companies saved, you might want to go to, where are we at? Settings, scroll down a little bit, and then make sure that these are all turned on. They are on by default, but if you don't see anything in there, that's probably the culprit. So once you save a person or a company, they are eligible for an alert. And alerts, let's just do account alert, filter type. Maybe if you're in recruiting and you choose to use Sales Nav instead of recruiter, I guess, account growth. So if a company is hiring a lot, that might be a trigger event for you. It's a good alert to know. If a company just brought on a new decision maker, maybe that's a trigger event for you. Very helpful. The company was in the news. They shared some updates, suggested leads, account risk. This means that they're probably going through a rough time. I'm not sure how LinkedIn gets some of this information. It's kind of fun. And then for the people alerts, let's go to lead, filter. Someone got a new job. That might be important for you to know. Someone engaged with you. Let's see what we've got going on here. Paul accepted my invite. Aaron viewed my profile. All very helpful for your workflow. And then a lead was in the news. A lead shared some content, suggested leads. This is a very helpful one for top of mind. Lead shares. So if I have a person saved, I can go like all of these updates are from people I've saved. So if you just go to the normal homepage, it's just everybody you're following. It's all mixed in there. You have to rely on the algorithm to give you whatever. So if you go to lead filter alerts right here, it's going to be all of your saved people so that you can be intentional about what you see and who you engage with and what. So very helpful. Cool. Okay. So I will get off my soapbox. I want to hear from you panelists. Really, I just have one question, and that's how do you use lead and account lists? And if anyone has any questions, if you're kind of new to lead and account lists, there are no silly questions. If you have any questions at all, drop them in the chat, and we can get to them during open Q&A, or you can just pop on here a little bit. But for now, as we move into panelist discussion, I want to hear from all you pros. How do you use lead and account lists? So this is panelist time. If you're a panelist, you know who you are.
First off, I want to say that thanks for the overview, because, quite honestly, this is training and information that people are paying hundreds to thousands of dollars for in some people's training courses and stuff, and you guys are getting it all here for free. So thanks, Isaac, for the presentation.
It's fun. It's fun.
Also, I've been wondering when they're gonna, at what point LinkedIn will just make this a full CRM and compete, with the Salesforces of the world and stuff like that. But excited about the conversation. So anybody else who wants to jump in?
That's the biggest void, I think, Monty, is that it's very hard to get things out of LinkedIn. Aside from promoting your database, really hard. And then so many clients I talk to, everybody has a different CRM and they all struggle with it. So, I think first and foremost, using Navigator as a kind of tracking your prospects, and I see how you've done it nicely, Isaac, in terms of the pipeline stage. The thing that I struggle with is sometimes I have clients that have different initiatives. And so then the alerts get a little noisy. So for instance, I have one client who's in supply chain and they're hiring, but we also have leads. And so now the prospects are coming through as well as the candidates. And it's like, oh my gosh. So I don't know how to separate that. I'd love to have a really clean homepage where I can just pick who I want. Like if there was a way to tag a profile that I want to see updates on this person, like the notification little bell, that's on the new, whatever it is, regular LinkedIn. I love it. I mean, I love it so much that I paid for the year. So I'm in for the year on Navigator.
If they set the alerts where you can actually adjust it by lead list or account list, that would actually be awesome.
And one thing you didn't cover, Isaac, which we talked last time, is how to clear out the orphans. And I don't know if that is relevant to anybody here, since we're talking about lists.
Yeah, let's not and say if you have accidentally saved a bunch of people, but not to a list, go watch last week's replay. Okay. Yeah, because that can be a problem. I should point out, you are limited in, I think, all versions of SalesNav. I believe you're limited to saving 10,000 people. And the last I did a support chat, I asked how many accounts you could save, and they said you could save as many as you want. And I said, are you serious? Downside there is if you search within more than like 8,000 accounts at a time, it bugs out and breaks on you. So you can save a ton. And as you save people, their account is automatically saved, but not to a list. So you'll find that your saved accounts always goes up, but it kind of just, there's a point where if you search with an all saved, it breaks. So it's about 8,000.
It's also a limit of 1,000 people per list.
Per list, yes,
so
that's absolutely.
Once you hit that, you've got to duplicate.
Yep.
I just want to add one other thing. I didn't realize it, but I did get the new version, and two of my clients did. When you open up your search, there's going to be a little arrow there, and click on that, and it will expand it.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize I had it, but if you expand it, you can collapse it. So go check.
That's exactly right.
For me, it's a little different. Like, I don't know why I was supposed to have Sales Navigator Pro, but now I'm looking that they have Sales Navigator Core.
They did a rebrand. Yeah, sorry.
So it's Core?
Yeah, they do Core. They gave it new names and they made it more expensive, and they made some color changes. And I think the only good thing though is they let you search with both lead and account lists at the same time. That's the only actual improvement.
I just don't see like those options that you had there, like connecting the CRM and as well as the expansion of.
Is it green and red, or is it blue and red?
Is it where? It's blue for me.
It's blue. If it's blue, then you just don't have the new version. If it's green and red, that's when you get the new version.
Okay. I don't know why. Like they keep.
But you don't have to change anything. They're across the board getting the new user interface. But I don't want to get too hung up on the new sales nav. I want to talk about lead and account list strategies. Esmeralda, I know you're like a LinkedIn pro and you're sitting next to Mike, so you get grandfathered in. If you want to chime in, that's fine too.
We have a standard practice we do for everyone that I want to share real quick. Okay.
Please do, Mike.
So for clients, I create the search as fancy as can be with badass Boolean all over the place, as much as we can do, right? Including, excluding, even Boolean in the company names to exclude LLCs and stuff. But then we add everyone to a lead list. Okay, and up to 1,000 or so sometimes have to pop to 2.5 lead lists from a search. From there, we look at the lead list and scrub it for our clients. And we're looking for words that we can include in the next search or update this search so I can take out something that's slipped through. So another keyword or another job title or something that we can go not, / on. Once we add, let's say 1,000 people to a lead list and scrub maybe 50 from it, then I have my clients scrub the lead list. And then if they discover some words and things like that, they tell me those as well, and they go into the next search. So, so we scrub, they scrub, and then we put that into our systems and do our stuff. But the scrubbing is something that, you know, it happens a lot at first, and then they get really good at it. And some of them will say at the end, you know, don't mind, just let it go. It's all right. It's all right. Just let it go. But having the option to scrub and fully vet everybody, they have the option to fully vet everybody that we're going to engage for them, it's a good selling point. And we do it by default for everybody. And then eventually some of them will just trust us to just move on with it. The scrubbing is the key part. The scrubbing. You can scrub a list, you can't scrub.
That's 100% accurate. That's good. I think just good advice is if you are using the strategy where you have as best as you can search dialed in, and then you're going to use a lead list for your, I'm going to engage this group, still scrub it, still go through and make sure that everyone on there looks like they're potentially qualified. That's great advice. I think a lot of people don't do that.
So, you know,
okay.
Sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
One more thing, and that is what you see. What you see in a search below their name is one thing. What you see in a lead list below their name is something else. So they may look really great in a search. You put them on a lead list and it's grabbing like the first company listed, not the qualifying company from the search. So you might see that they're a babysitter here, but they're really, that's their second job. Their first job is owner of a of a childcare company or something. So it's whether it's the job, multiple current jobs is the reason primarily. But the display, it kind of gets a little tough to scrub sometimes because you're seeing some odd data there sometimes. I mean, really odd stuff.
Yeah, I think in search, the headline is displayed, and in a lead list, let me just double check here. I believe it's the actual title. No, it's, I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But yeah. Susan, what did you want to say?
Oh, I was just going to reiterate what Mike was saying and the importance of having a human being look at those lists, because there's bugs, there's people that put things weird. There's just things that you're like, why are they on this list? And if you don't do that step, you're spamming a bunch of people that shouldn't have been on the list.
The people that get you into trouble are the people you shouldn't have engaged with in the first place. Right. You know, it's usually some oddball thing. Also, it lets, by using lists to scrub here, you can eliminate people who don't have a picture. We mostly eliminate someone who doesn't have a picture if they're a third level connection, but we'll let it go, let it slide if they're a 2. Just out of policy, but we have folks who say nobody with a picture. If we really have a lot of targets, you can be more picky. You know, if you got tons and tons of targets, you can be highly selective, raise the bar.
So we'll do targeting. We'll use a combination of excluding companies that are clients or known exclusions, or maybe we've talked to someone in the past and we just know that their company is not qualified. So we'll use that in our initial targeting, do our best in search, and then we'll take and create a lead list for like the month. And what I've discovered is something like 20%-ish of people get a new job throughout the course of a year. And so what I find is if you save too big of a group of people to engage with, so if you're using the strategy where you're going to save a lead list for like a batch of people that you want to engage with, if it's too big and it's going to take you too long to get through it, you'll actually find the data gets stale. Someone's going to get a new job and they're still going to be in your list. And so my recommendation would be to do no more than about a month's worth, because then you're going to have a lot less people that have gotten a different job. Even though you can add 1,000 people, whatever you can do in a month, that's as much as I'd add to that lead list. Any other panelists here? Strategies on how you use account and lead lists before we get into open Q&A.
I use them mostly I categorize, especially if there's more than one type of target market for a client, and then also where they're at in the follow-up sequence.
Yeah.
So I do 2 levels. That's kind of the approach we take.
Awesome. Super smart. That's why she's the LinkedIn ninja. All right. It's getting kind of quiet here, panelists. No other earth-shattering news you want to share? All right. Let's move into open Q&A. So let's see. Monty, do we have any good questions?
Yeah, we
in the
do.
chat?
We have a couple of questions that have come in so far. First, you can add the same person to different groups at the same time, correct?
Yeah, you can add a person, a lead or an account can be added to multiple lists. Yeah.
Perfect. And the second question is, can you download lists?
No, you would have to use a third-party tool to do some scraping, which I just should say, since this is recorded, but would violate LinkedIn's user agreement. So natively, you cannot download them, unfortunately. You can share a list for another teammate if you have Teams or Enterprise or whatever the new names are, but you cannot download the list itself natively in LinkedIn.
I have one more thing I want to mention about scrubbing. It's kind of important.
Shoot.
When you're scrubbing from a list, on the left, you can go check, 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 and then to the top, remove multiple people. Great. If you've got multiple, and then on the right, there's a big fruit fly over here, guys. I don't know what kind of fly it is. I want it to bite me. And then on the far right, the 3-dot menu, you can go down and remove someone from a list over there. When you go to remove a person from a list, there's 2 options. At the top says, do you just want to take the person off of this list? Okay, and that leaves them on any other list that's there. It leaves them as an orphan. Yep. if you don't delete them. But the bottom option will remove them from being a lead at all. And that can take them off of all 3 lead lists you have them on. If you remove them as a lead, they're no longer a lead, so they can't be on any other lead list. So be careful.
I'll give everyone a visual. So this is lead list qualifying. Amy, message sent by me 5 days ago. I can send a message in Sales Nav, use similar, add to another list, or remove. And if I choose remove, it's going to say, should I remove from this list or from all lists and unsave? That's what Mike's talking about, right, Mike?
Yep, exactly.
Okay. Yep. Just to give everyone a visual.
That's where orphans can come from, Judy. You delete someone from a list, but you didn't delete them as a lead.
Or you delete the whole list and you don't select unsave all. That's pretty common as well.
I've actually deleted lead and the whole list. Fortunately, it was mine.
Yes, so annoying.
And I had to fortunately I could recreate it because I had the search saved, but it was like a big mistake. Big mistake.
Any other questions from everyone here related to either how lead and account lists work or strategies? And if the chat's a little quiet and if you're brave enough, you can do the raise hand thing and we'll bring you on with your mic and stuff. Boom, boom, boom.
Or if you have a comment that you'd like to share.
Yeah. Let's see. Leonardo says, I discovered some new filters such as people interacted with, which could be a real advantage. Are you talking about the Leonardo, that's in the Sales Nav search, right? So that's what you were talking about, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, that's in there, but I don't want to get into that just because I want to stay on topic with lead and account list strategies. But yeah, there are some new and renamed filters on the new Sales Nav.
The big question is all of this and the way they've added the feature and the new updates and stuff worth the additional $10 a month that they've charged now?
No, I don't think not yet. 120 bucks a year for, yeah, I don't think so. But who
Yeah.
knows? Maybe they'll do more updates. They've been doing a lot more recently than in the past. So
But you're
Maybe I'm just-
grandfathered into your existing rate, so your rate doesn't
Mhm.
change. So it's just
Yeah, don't
the people
quit.
who haven't bought it yet,
yeah,
they're the ones, they're not gonna know how much of an extra benefit the new stuff is.
someone was on here.
Unless you
a
bought
few
it
weeks
before,
back.
then quit, then you're unhappy.
Yeah,
Sad
who
face.
was that? Like 3 or 4 weeks ago, someone was like saying they pay like $30 a month for sales nav because they got it forever. It's like forever.
Yeah,
guys.
they were grandfathered in from like the beginning.
Ridiculous. All right. No more questions. Leading account lists, how they work, strategies, using
I have
them
a, I have a
together.
client who's, we're doing, we had a lead list here and lead list here, and they decided they wanted to change. I want that one, you want this one. We upgraded them to team, and it was great. The
Mhm.
team lead list function works really good. I'm very happy with what they did there. It's just as if it's your own. It just says share. It says ownership of the list now. There's a
Mhm.
column that says who owns the list, right? And it has your name on every one. But if you one shared with you, it shows someone else's. So
And
Mike, is that the
administration-
new version of the teams or is
No.
that the old version of the
Oh,
teams?
it's the old version of team. Yep.
One thing to point out, my account is just on Pro, unfortunately. But when you are working with teams, for those of you who have that, and you do share an account or lead list with a teammate, you actually, the recipient needs to click the 3 dots and then also go save all to my account as well, because there's a difference between getting the list and saving everyone on that list. And so just so you know, if you do share a list with someone or you get the list shared with you, just because the list is there doesn't mean that all the accounts or people are saved. You click that little right dot and say save all. It's kind of one of those things where you would assume that, but it just makes sense that they're giving you the option to save it because
Wow.
someone can just share a ton of stuff with you and use up all your 10,000. Was someone jumping on? I'm sorry, I cut you off. Anybody?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Isaac, when you're working with territories, do you set up individual territory lists, or is that best to do with a Teams account and individual and just set up single lists for the individual team members?
Oh, okay. So good question. Actually, that makes me think of one thing we didn't talk about when you're working with teams. So I don't think it's a good practice to create lead list based off of sales territories. I think you should do that in your original targeting. And then, so like a sales rep, if you're targeting by region, especially, or even industry, I would rely on search, grab who you can engage with and go that route. If you just create a huge list of people to engage with, you're going to run into the problem of people moving and all that stuff. So I like to take your initial territory breakdown, apply that to search, and then just take bite-size stuff every month on your lead list to make sure that it's all appropriate in your territory. The thing that made me think of is if you have teams and you have a client, especially at a big company, you got client account list and you've got like a not a lead account list, you probably want to share that with the whole team. Because as different people are engaging with companies, who knows, in 2022, so many people work remote. If my sales rep teammate talks to company A and the point person there says, you know what, we would never, ever use your services. You're like, oh, that's good to know. They, in their account, would choose save to the not a lead account list. And so if that list is shared with everyone, it's very helpful.
Oh, all right.
So
Since we got new ideas, I create a do not send list for the people who are really nasty and say, I get out of here, I don't want you, or just I'm not interested. And we / the do not send list, just as a precaution.
Yep, we do similar.
Really nasty people out there. They send one more message after they said something to you.
Totally.
And they know how to make life difficult for you, right?
Yep. You do your best. And even if you do your best and you play by all the rules and you treat people as good as you can, sometimes someone has a bad day and you cut them at just the right time or personality, it's going to happen. And so between a person being disqualified just because they're never going to use your services at their company, or you accidentally offended them, yep, I would absolutely add them to like a do not contact lead list. Yep.
One thing that I do a lot is, for example, when I have clients that I'm doing crowdfunding raises, I like to do it. I ask them for like what is the persona, and then what I do with the list is that I just look based on similar profile, which is a great thing in Sales Navigator lead list.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was messing with that yesterday on the at the account level as well, because it's a whole, maybe we should dig into that in another week. That's using the view similar. It's good. It's good, Andres. All right, we have 10 minutes unless we're crickets. Anybody, any final questions? David, now's your time to shine, brother.
I really like this, and I don't have Navigator, but I'm considering it, obviously. When you create a list based on some kind of a search, that's obviously smart to save the list and name it in some relation to the list or the search that you did, right? But then you may move these people around, obviously, or subset them, categorize them, as you said, etc. Down the road, next month, whatever, I would like to know who changed what characteristic of the search that I originally got them through.
Like who, talking about like a job change or a role change?
I mean, that you brought that up earlier, yes. I mean, that would be one thing, but it could be that they changed their job itself, that they changed companies, that they, I don't know. I mean, there could be a number of different things. The list that I put them on, if I have them on the original list and this other segregated category list, I'm in this juggling kind of situation. I can go to the original list and see what they were, right? See how I got them, I should say, how I found them. But then I'm also in this situation where I'd like to know that they changed. So is there a simple way to find out whether they changed? And then is there,
David.
What else?
Except the downside is it's the past 90 days. So here's the lead list, change jobs in the last 90 days.
Right.
But so there are limitations. I for what you're wanting to achieve, I don't know that there's like an awesome solution, because change jobs it can be good or bad in this context. They might have changed jobs in the last 90 days, and that's why they made it on your list. They got the job and their title put them in your targeting, or they may have exited and now they're no longer. So it's not as awesome as you'd want, but that's probably the best place to start. Another thing that you could do is it's going to be really, really similar. You can go to lead list, same thing here in search. We've created the list, and then they've got it's all moved around on me. Let's see. I think it's highlights, right? Change job in the last 90 days. If that's a little bit easier for you to see, same information, but you get a little bit more info.
Another question that goes along with this is, if you're talking about Boolean stuff, is there a way to cross-reference lists, like net one list out of another?
Kind of. I'll share my screen real quick. That's a good question. So
that might include, this goes back to the search itself, that might include, from my perspective, the ability to say, I got this list this way, right, which was based on a certain scheme of search, and then I got this other list a similar way, but with a difference that I would like to denote based on what I got back from the searches.
Right. So I think that if you're going to do more than one inclusion exclusion, that would only matter, unless I'm missing something, if a person was in more than one list at a time. So typically we keep people in one list at a time, but you could go like this. So this is one list. And then if you've got people where there's crossover, you might say, let's take this group here and exclude everyone. So maybe you saved everyone and you named the list off of like an industry category or something. You put them all in here, and then you're also putting them through pipeline lists here. Then you could exclude all those groups from within here. And now you can do the same thing where if all of these people are within account lists, you can include the account list, or you can exclude, which again is just so helpful. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many times, like this is why I was geeking out about this. So if we,
so great. Yeah.
if I mean, like we take and we categorize our lead list based off of pre-sales pipeline, qualifying, qualified, interested, converted, that kind of thing. So later, this is the limitation before, is if we wanted to grab everybody who we know is qualified and they've been talking, we would only be able to go like this, view lead list. I don't want to click anything because it'll reset to the new version. We would only choose lead lists. And so if in the meantime, some people in here have converted and became clients, we couldn't automatically exclude them. So it's a major pain to do that. So much more data entry. So now being able to just automatically grab a group of people and exclude or include any account list at the same time, it's a really big win. So
that exclusion process or research project process would be done based on the next search that you were going to do, not something that you could do between lists.
Oh, I didn't quite follow on that, Dave. Sorry.
Well, what you just showed is within the search, right? But what if I had two lists and I wanted to find out something between the two lists that I already have?
Yeah. I think all you can do is in here is what you can do in search. There's no other way to really compare and do anything else anywhere.
So
anywhere else.
I would have to do another search related to the original searches to see if something comes up or drops out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
If you pull multiple lists in, it's an or, it's not an and. We don't have an anding. That would be kind of nice. I think that's kind of what you mean. Are you on this list and that list, an intersection between them? Is that kind of the question, David?
It might be, because then it would tell me that they were in the original list. Right.
Yeah,
I mean, they're actually the same. It would be the same, right? Whatever that search was now, this new search would tell me that they are either moved or they are also that person that was in the original list that you're doing it here.
Yeah, I think
this goes back to doing any other type of CRM. You want to pull this stuff out, right? And you want to play with it some way.
Yep. One other thing, there's an order of operation, right? So you've got, this is new. I was messing with this earlier because I was thinking, well, like, which has alpha priority when you're doing inclusion exclusion. And I just got this back this morning, or last night. I'm 99.9% sure that the account inclusion exclusion takes priority over lead list inclusion exclusion. So whatever you do here is the priority 1 inclusion and exclusion, and then within that, priority 2 is lead list.
Okay.
Isaac, can you bring a lead list up one more time to look at one here in the new version? I think I saw something there that I didn't notice before. Just any lead list. Just go to lead list at the top and pick one.
I haven't noticed anything change personally.
How about the change jobs and posted in 30? I don't remember seeing that on lead lists.
Yeah, they've been there for ages. Sorry.
Even on the old version, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah,
Yep.
I don't recall that. Okay. I'm looking too far down low.
Oh, one thing we did not talk about is in account lists. You can go like this. Let's go to
Isaac, we're 1 minute from the top of the hour.
all right. You can prioritize different accounts. So, ta-da, ta-da. Okay.
Awesome.
Any other super uber important questions in chat, Monty?
No. Anybody
Okay.
have any final 30-second questions?
Bill jumped on. Bill, sorry, I didn't see you pop on. It's great to have you here.
Great being here.
All right, I think all of your friends left. Sorry, Bill.
They knew I was coming.
All
You
right.
still have one friend here, Bill. Still have one.
I was just going to say, my friend in Costa Rica is here. Great to see you, Mike.
Nice to see
Small
you,
world.
Bill.
Small world, folks. All right, well, let's, Monty, call it a meeting.
We'll call it. Thank you guys for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you all next week, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. So make the conversion and we'll see you next time.